Hi, David Odell here. This is part 2 of a 2-part series, so if you wanted to see how we got to this point, you want to take a look at part 1. But this is how it should look when you're ready to pour concrete. You have your expansion foam in there, you've got your rebar tied, you've got crushed concrete base compacted, you've got all your screed pins set, perimeter forms, all your elevations double checked to make sure you've got everything flowing in the right direction. Tops of those 16 duplexes is top of concrete, and that's where I'll lay my overhead screed on. There's a little aluminum flashing I just cut in half and used it for those tight radiuses. The pumper's on site, just waiting on concrete at this point, laying out some hoses. Also, we're going to be doing a giveaway in this video. Within this video, we're going to be doing the Odell work glove giveaway. About 4 different types of gloves, and then everyone gets to choose from whichever glove you like. That's going to be my Christmas gift to everyone. The concrete mix that we're using here is a 3250 PSI. It's a city mix, so that means it doesn't have any fly ash in it, just straight cement. Now if you'll notice, we're just lifting the rebar up as we place the concrete. The reason for that is because we're using 3/8 inch rebar, which is pretty thin, so if it was on dobies and you have a pump hose and people walking, it just bends it to the ground typically, and then you have real problems with keeping it centered in the concrete. This way you can just raise it where you want, and once that concrete goes under it, it's not going back down. I'll be using a 12-foot 2x4 aluminum rod stick, so it's going to be perfectly straight every time. What I like to do is lay down a wet screed along the perimeter, like walls, houses, things of that nature. Pull out a couple feet and then just wet screed off of the top of that. Also, I added some fiber mesh into this. And I just used the fiber that I have. I have in stock about a couple thousand pounds. And what I like to do for broom finishes, I use about 1 pound, or actually I use a half a pound per yard. It's not a whole lot, but it's enough to make a little difference. All this concrete that we're pouring here, it's all 5 to 6 inches deep. We've got about 3 to 4 inches of crushed concrete base compacted. This is a kind of slab that you shouldn't have to worry about it forever. On the slope of this particular area, a portion of it, about the first 10 or 12 feet in off of the backyard, is sloping one direction to one side of the house. The rest of it slopes to the other side of the house. So we have a break point. You can kind of see it on the felt, or if you look at that foam on the house, how it crowns there in between the 2 vents on the house. And we have the 4-foot magnesium bowl float with a rocker arm on it. So our first 2 loads just went to here, and then we ran out of concrete. So now we'll be waiting for the third load cleanup. And because of where the batch plant was in relationship to this job location, we had quite a long turnaround time for that third truck. So fortunately, where it actually ran out on the first two loads was beautiful, because we ended up cutting a cold joint there, and then when the next load got here, we had a crisp cold joint, which is a beautiful spot for it. I don't know if you noticed that, but I did run that 6-foot Milwaukee Red Stick level right off the existing garage floor, because there's a kind of a depressed area. Whoever did the garage floor slab had a depressed area in it right in the middle of the garage door where it came down. So we had to kind of create a valley out of there just to make up for that little defect in the garage floor. Now on the finish here, it's going to be your standard broom finish, but unfortunately we're not going to be using the horsehair nylon broom. We're going to be going straight nylon on this one with 100 feet of rope that'll pull the broom. It's a double bladed broom with 100 feet of rope that pulls it on across. Also, we're going to put a shiner edge, a 6-inch shiner, all the way around the perimeter. That's me right there in the fiberglass sliders. We have Carlos over there in the orange, and then we have Juan also on the job site, and then Avery and my son. Now right in this area, he's going to end up putting a car lift right here. That's where the car lift goes. And that's a reason why we just kept it all 5 inches thick, because he's an auto mechanic that likes to restore old vehicles. So also the homeowner, because he is a DIY kind of guy, he's going to be putting all the sealer on this job. He's going to be putting a penetrating water base on here, because when you're working with cars, you're bound to spill some oil on the concrete, and it's hard to get out without sealer on it. So that sealer will help prevent the oil from really penetrating into the concrete, so you should be able to keep it fairly clean that way. Also, within this video, we're going to have a little interview with a YouTube follower of mine that came out to the job site, and he wanted to kind of get hands-on experience. He happened to be a professional arm wrestler, and then when I seen him, I was thinking, wow, those size, with those arms he's got on him, if I could hold him up by his legs, he'd have like a human power trowel. That's my little 5x12 right there, and then I've got my 20x5 trowel. And our third load has arrived. On the cutback on that cold joint, we just spread it and raised the rebar, so the rebar was elevated, and then we just dropped the next load right on top of it. Right across this doorway, because the water does slope towards this drive-through garage, we're going to create a little valley shedding the water over into that planter area, which goes out to the front of the house. In the background, you can see us brooming it now with the double-bladed nylon broom. Hi, David Odell here. We just wrapped up some concrete. We're just waiting on the last section to broom, but Alex has been watching the YouTube channel for about a year and a half, he said, and he wanted to come out here because he's relatively close, about a 50-minute drive, huh?
50 minutes, yeah.
Not too bad. You're in somewhere, where's
In the valley.
In the valley,
Yeah, in the valley.
Yeah, so what was it like coming out here and working?
I mean, it was a smooth process. I'm a concrete pumper, so I normally don't stay after the jobs, but I
Yeah.
wanted to come with you because I've seen you on YouTube, and I wanted to see what the process was from pumping to laying the concrete down to finishing it, and
Yeah.
it was a great experience. You know, I learned a lot.
But on the side note, you're a professional arm wrestler too, huh?
Yes, I am.
You have a big Instagram page that we looked at, me and Tyler looked at, and your last match was in Reno, right?
Yeah, back in October.
October.
Yeah.
The guy you went up against was about
It was like 6'8", maybe.
6'8",
Yeah.
and you took him down, huh?
I took him down easily. No, it was very difficult.
That's awesome. Yeah, because you were stood up for like 45 seconds before you could
Pin him, yeah.
before you could pin him down.
And he's my friend. He's a friend of mine. He's in Vegas.
Oh, really?
So we met up out there, and it was just fun and games. You know, there was no prize money or anything. So it was just a good little shindig that we had there. It was fun.
All right. What's your Instagram page anyway?
It's Damn It Alex, spelled out Damn It Alex, all together.
Cool. Yeah, if anybody's interested in arm wrestling, you can find it on his Instagram page. All right, I thought that was kind of interesting. Here's that broom I was talking about. It's great for areas where you can get on both sides and just pull it all the way across. You don't have to get out there on skates or sliders and work a two pull or three pull handle and then retrowel and broom out your marks. Just drag it all the way. Hi, David Odell here. What we're going to be doing is a Odell glove giveaway, 10 pairs. All you have to do is comment, I want the red gloves with the texture grip, or I want the red gloves with the smooth grip, or I want the gray and black gloves. These are the ones I've been personally wearing lately. They're all really nice. Anyway, that's my Christmas gift to you all out there. Free gloves, 10 people. Let me know which ones you want, and then Google randomizer will pick them out, and we'll shoot the gifts out. Have a good one and Merry Christmas. But anyway, on that glove giveaway, make sure that you're subscribed and that you like to get into the contest. Going to be 10 winners. So our first two trucks are already completed. Now it's just a matter of this last little section. This is about 3.5 yards at the depth that it was. Fortunately, I have a pull hookup for a matching broom, so the texture is going to be the same all the way through, even though I couldn't use the broom pull in this area. So whenever I broom something, if I don't like the looks of it, I can always re-trowel it. In this case, that's exactly what I did. I just re-broomed it. Now this is the third day. We actually came back here the day after to do the cutting, and we dropped the blade in a couple times, and it was just too fresh because the weather right now is pretty cold overnight, so the concrete's not curing out quick enough to cut the next day without getting a lot of spalling and stuff off of your blade. So we waited an extra day, and then we came out here and we did our layout and our saw cutting. Now those lines on the outside edge, that's your border. We're going to have a band all the way around this. And those marks in the middle, the straight line, that was just to establish my starting point for my 45-degree angle grid that I'm going to be laying in here, because I want it to be perfectly centered within the band. So that way I don't have different size triangles where it meets the band. Everything's perfectly uniform. That was the goal, and that's why I like saw cutting, because I can get a perfect layout every time because I'm not in a hurry. Like if you try to wet cut something like this, in the end you don't know what you're going to get, and you're not going to be able to change it because the way concrete cures and dries out, you don't have a lot of time to do things twice. But with a chalk line, you can do it as many times as you want. So here's the layout here, and because nothing was really square with the house, the property lines are on angle. However, we maintained a certain distance, so now the outside edge of the form is not straight with the house, so we had to do some cheating here and there to make the grid layout beautifully and hit the bands and maintain perfect squares and distances to the band. So you notice I have two lines here, my guidelines, down the middle coming in through that single carport there, and then also the back patio area in the middle. So the way it works, the center of my squares, the corners are going to line up through that garage door. So when you drive in, it's almost like arrows pointing the way in. It's centered going up through the garage, and then it's also centered the other direction when you make the turn. There's the Medusa from Skill. If you're going to do a lot of cutting and you want them to be straight and you don't want to get down on your hands and knees and throw guides down and stuff, just get one of those, and your cutting days get a lot easier. Now these are 5-foot sections, so when you get 5-foot sections on a slab like this, if it wants to crack, it's going to find one of these lines to crack on, so the cracks won't really be visible because they'll be within one of these control joints. Now some lines, like the bands for instance, I'll only go like 1/4 to a 1/2 inch on a band because I know it's not going to crack 1 foot in parallel to the outside of form. So those you don't really need to go deep. And then you really don't need to go deep on every line. Every other line is probably fine. So in that case, what I did is I went about 3/4 on half of them, and then the other half, every other one, I'd go about 1 inch, 1.25 inches deep. On that cold joint, we just went right across it, and we didn't really factor that into the layout at all. And once I get done cutting, the true test is putting water on it to see if it drains, and at the same time water curing it and also uncleaning it. So there's a lot of benefits of the pressure washer at this point. Also, where those diagonal cuts where they actually meet the band, I actually brought them on through the band, because if it cracks on one of those, it's going to continue. So you have to kind of turn it on the band. And I didn't cut every one. Like I was saying earlier, every other cut I went deep, and then so that's how I followed it through on the band. The deep cuts across the field, I went across the band. The other ones I skipped. Otherwise, we would have had a whole bunch of cuts on the band. So that piece of wood you see under the pressure washer, that's just to knock some of the vibration out. What happens when that's vibrating on top of the concrete, it could potentially scratch it, although it won't be visible once it's all cured out. It's just kind of an eyesore for the time being. So there's your final layout, and that's what I meant about the points of the corners directing you right in through the center. You have equal diamonds that meet the bands all the way around. Actually, triangles. The triangles meet the band, and they're all about the same size. And there's the shiner on the outside edge. And that radius cut there was pretty tricky to do. That's about a 200-foot radius or more. Anyway, thanks for watching. Make sure you get entered in on that drawing. Have a good one.